So friends, hello and welcome to the first episode of Blender. So basically, I would love to teach you that how we can learn 3D in Blender and relate it to other softwares to make a proper animating film or to use it in any other ways and resources, and we can compile into anything from anything to anything. So here we start. So basically this is the interface of Blender. So basically you can download Blender from blender.org. So there you go, and you can simply go to the official website for Blender and download Blender from here. And if you're using a Mac or a Windows, go for it. You can choose your options from here. And as I'm using Windows for 64-bit, and I'm gonna install and download this Blender file, which is version 2.79b. That's the latest official Blender software that has been put up in this site, and you download from here. So basically, after downloading, this is the interface that we see as a default interface. So first, according to my preference of handling the software, first let's go to the user interface from the file. So user interface in input, it's like I prefer to use it in the use it as left, and editing interface, so I prefer zoom to mouse position, rotate around selection, global pivot, and camera parent lock. And in system, I do have a NVIDIA GTX 760 graphic card, so I prefer CUDA and this NVIDIA card that is visible over here, and save it as settings as default. So basically, let me first today in the first episode, let me first discuss about the interface and a little bit of edit of model. So over here you can find the tools and create. So we go to create. So basically from create, there we can find by default there is plane. So I move the plane on y-axis. So first let me start with the axis. So in Blender, the z-axis is pointing towards the top, and x and y in perpendicular to each other, and there is a basic by default lamp, and there is a camera. So by pressing the T button on the keyboard, we can hide the tool panel that is on the left side, and by pressing the N key we can get the property panel on the right side. So basically, and when we click on any object and we scroll click, and without leaving the scroll click button, we drag it or move the mouse, we can basically pan freely on any object. And for zooming we use the scroll, and for panning we use the scroll click button. So now moving on to the next, how we shift our screen. Basically the 3D space is like we press the shift key on the keyboard and the scroll button on the mouse. It's preferable if you have a 3-button mouse with a scroll click. So that is the basic interface, how to move on the Blender interface. And for zooming, you can scroll up and down, or you can what you can easily do is like you press the control key on the keyboard and you can scroll up, and you can basically with the scroll click you can drag up and down, and by this function you can actually zoom on the object that is selected. And on the right click, and on with the right click, basically you can change the cursor target. So cursor target is basically a target where it's like an option basically in the 3D space where you want to import a new object or anything, or basically that's a target, whatever you can say, for your next action. So basically if my target is over here, or basically like over here, so now if I import a UV sphere from my option panel to create an object, so my object will be placed on the cursor target. And for deleting any object, you can press any key of like X delete or delete on the keyboard. So this is how we can make, or basically bring down to the objects that are present by default on the tool panel. And next we move on to the rotation, scaling and position. So basically for rotation, we can press the R button and we can rotate it in any direction, basically which is parallel to the screen, that is parallel to the view, not screen, view of the 3D space. And please don't get confused by yourself, this 3D space is not the camera or the capture which you want as an output file or as a render file. So this is basically the view of the user, basically the view of the person who is using for their benefits to create any object or any scene inside the 3D space. So moving on to the next, if we press the R key and rotate an object, it will be rotating parallelly to the 3D space view. But now over here we can see it's like X, Y and Z, three directions over here. So if you want to, like, supposedly you want to uh, rotate in like X direction, so like now you can like hit the key of R, rotate X axis, and you can rotate freely. Similarly R, rotate Z axis and rotate freely. R axis, R for rotation, Y axis and rotate freely. With, you don't have to click anything from the mouse, you just can roll the mouse or drag the mouse up and down to rotate. Just give it a hands on, it will be very easy and clear to you once you start doing it practically. Same with any object, rotate Z, rotate Y and rotate Z. Sorry, X, that's my bad. Anyways, so this is how we can rotate an object. Now supposedly you want to rotate an object in a particular angle, so like this, I select this cube and then rotate X 45, so it will be rotating in 45 degree of angle in the X axis. Now rotate Y minus 30. So supposedly you want to get back to the actual, supposedly arbitrarily, let me just show you a pitfall reason. Supposedly arbitrarily you have rotated an object, so it doesn't fit into any direction, it's just an arbitrary rotation which doesn't have any, what to say, any measurement of angle. So you can, and you want to get back to the by default rotation angle of an object. So obviously you can hit Control Z, but supposedly you have crossed many steps, so Control Z is not available to return to that step. So you can easily hit the Alt R and get back to the actual rotation which was there by default. So, and now let me show you the property panel. So property panel we can get by hitting the R key. Property panel, what we get, the property of the object that is selected. So location is 0 0 0 of X, Y and Z. So if we move a little bit, so we can see in the little bit in the Y direction, so we can see there that we are now moving the object in minus Y direction with a unit of 2.66520, and similarly in the plus direction and so on. And similarly, like rotation also, rotate Y we can see the angle that we are rotating. And supposedly you want to just, you can also do one thing, you can rotate, you want to like achieve your rotation in 3 direction, you can simply put the value like 20 in x, 10 in y, and 15 in z axis. So you can get a value on the object panel. And again we are getting back to the by default rotation. Yeah, that's 0 0 0. Okay, so next there comes the scaling. So scaling, by default the shortcut for scaling is S. So you can, when we press S and just drag your mouse up and down in directions of the arrow that we can get in the near the cursor, so the scale of the object is proportional from all the axes or the directions. So now supposedly, specifically, if we want to scale the object in y-axis, so we press S for scale and Y in y-axis, and we can scale in y-axis. So now scale in Z for z-axis and scale in X for x-axis, as simple as that. And that's it. And supposedly the dimension over here, or basically the scaling. And now don't get confused with the scaling and the dimension. Dimension over here is like 2 units in x, 2 units in y, and 2 units in z. I will come to the dimension part a little later on when we move on to the measurement phase. Now we are just learning in the first episode in unit based, like it can be any unit like 2 mm, cm, inch, or anything. We're just taking as a standard unit of 2 units. That's it. And you can also hide the panels of like property panel with N, toggle with N on and off, and same with T for tool panel on the left side. That's T, toggle up and down. So basically now we are slowly entering into the modeling part. So here we get a by default a cube, and here we get a by default a plane. So let's first work on the cube. So we are deleting this plane by X and enter. So this is the cube that we are getting. Supposedly now the cube, apart from rotation, scaling, and changing position in any direction or arbitrary direction. Okay, one more thing I guess I missed. So it's basically if you click on the axis and then drag an object, so it will move to the particular axis that you clicked on. Now if you click somewhere else apart from the arrow, that is arrow of axis that is been shown over here, or that you can see over here, so if you click over here and then click it anywhere else, so basically this will again change its position in a very arbitrary manner. So you may lost your axis. And one more thing, supposedly you click over here on the object and you drag it, and then you leave your left mouse button, so now the object will be stuck to your cursor wherever you move it. So basically to get away from it, you simply hit the escape button on the keyboard, and then you can get back to it. So basically you have to drag it, take it to the place where you want to keep it, leave the mouse button and press enter. So it will change its position. Okay, so there are many little things that may be like I'm not covering, but with the proceed of the videos and the episodes we can generally find it. And I would love to teach or like show you how it's being worked with very daily life, relating things we do in daily life, because that makes the learning more easier, and that's probably I found it. So I'm just sharing my point of view. Okay, so basically it's your object. So now down over here we can see it's over here, it's object mode. If we click over here and we click on the edit mode, or basically if we toggle with tab button we can toggle between the object mode and the edit mode. So in the edit mode, what we can find is like the corners of any object are basically attached with its corresponding or neighboring edges, and the vertices over here, and the face of any object. So basically in the in the object over here, that's cube, we can actually find 8 vertices. Actually what you can do is like, if you hit A, means selection of A, means A toggle, it's like select all or deselect all, toggle with A. So you can select all the properties of the object in the edit mode over here. Just be careful with it, and all, and toggle deselect and select all the properties that is available in the object. So now let's come to the object mode. So now let me show you something. It's like how to copy an object. Now let me just show you with some object without editing, or basically without going into the edit mode, into the object mode. Let me show you something that will be much more easier as we proceed with the video. So it's like in the object mode, how to copy an object. Like we hit the shift D and we drag it, basically from here, drag it, I mean without clicking any button from the mouse, we just move the mouse and we can see an object is copied from the previous object with the same properties that the object was already having. So basically, and we escape, and suppose it by mistake we again copied some object like this and we don't want to copy it, so we hit the escape button, and basically there are these objects that are already inside the object, so don't get confused with it. So basically you click on the object and you drag it in any axis, like in this case I drag into y-axis, and again you click on it and you drag it in any axis, again y-axis. So basically, like it sees that there are only one object, but basically as much time as I have hit the shift D button, an object has been copied, and when I basically hit the escape button, the object returns back to its original position. And due to a virtualization, we can actually can't differentiate how many object has been copied over there. So, and again, see, there are so many copies of the object. Now there is no more. This is the actual and the previous one that was there by default. So now let's move to the edit mode. Over here you can find the edit mode, or again once again like tab, toggle, edit mode and object mode. So in edit mode, the object that was selected, we edited that object, and from over here there are 3 options like vertices, edges and faces. So, and the shortcut is Control and Tab. Holding together we can get it in a very handy manner while working in a flow. So we change to faces. So over faces we can move up these faces just like scale, and similarly in any side of the object the faces. And over here if we select the edge, we select any edge and drag it and move it in any direction, and we get a different type of shape in this 3D space. So basically over here I'm moving it into Y, over here into Y, and over here in Z and in X a little bit. And similarly we select the vertices over here, and we select the vertices and drag it in the axis to get a little much more complicated object rather than a default cube or the default objects that are basically available in the tool panel. And we can again go back to the object mode. Okay, and one more thing I guess I missed out a little before when I was explaining the interface in the object mode. So if we hit, supposedly we scrolled a little further away from the object, and if we want to directly go to the object, we have to scroll again down to that object. Suppose it's too far and we have almost lost it. It's lost totally. So you can directly hit the dot button just in the numpad key set, just beside the 0. You hit the dot button and we can directly focus into the object immediately. Again like this and like this. That's simple. So it's basically whatever object you choose, and with the dot button in the numpad section, basically in the island keyboard, it's basically you can find that dot button in the numpad section. Any object, dot button, focus to that object. Any object, dot button, focus to that object. That's simple. So getting back to the edit mode, we can actually edit the object into little more and rather farther more of simpler object into complex object. So that's all for the episode 1. Myself Anirban Sarkar from India, Mumbai, signing out for the first episode. And stay tuned, subscribe, comment and share this video, of course, if you like it, and comment what more you want to learn, where the pitfalls that you faced, and basically where you stuck. How can I make this episodes much more easier? What are the faults that you have found in me while explaining you how to get further with Blender or start with Blender? Just feel very free to comment. That will help me, obviously you, and we all can grow together. That's what I would like to listen from you. So till then, goodbye, and don't forget to subscribe for the next video and the updates that's coming soon.
Situations getting worse.